Speaking of out of nothing, I had nothing left in terms of space so that's why that recording cut out when it did. I I try to delete some stuff. We'll see how we do now. Um, Back to the middle of 20, the highest God is beyond doing. This was sort of the Platonic, Neoplatonic view. The highest God is beyond doing such a lowly thing as creating the world, and so he leaves that to the demiurge. This is not the Christian point of view, of course. Against this notion, Clement says that the great demiurge is God himself. So he's basically repurposing the term demiurge to refer no longer to sort of a subcontractor deity, but to God the Creator. This means that the divine, against this notion, there's no dichotomy between the highest God and the maker of the world for Clement and for Christianity. Creation is an absolute act out of nothing. Where am I here? This implies God's almighty power. Now, so this is where it gets, interesting, dicey, more interesting than dicey. This implies God's almighty power. Moving on. To say that God is almighty does not mean that God is one who sits on a throne and can do anything he wants to, like an arbitrary tyrant. Rather, almightiness means that God is the sole ground of everything created. There is no other source or ground or power than God. And that there is no such thing as matter which resists God. True enough, but however that could sound like, if we're not interpreting carefully, it could sound like nothing resists God, which means that everything that occurs because God wills it occur in that way and at that time. I don't think Tillich wants to imply that. So there's no such thing as matter in and of itself that resists God, but we could hasten to add, we do believe that God, in great love, has created creatures of agency, such as humans. I don't want to draw the line at humans. I think that agency, to some degree or some manner or another, certainly extends well beyond human beings, both on this planet and very likely in other worlds. That's a matter of speculation, though, isn't it? But that God, who is the sole ground, source, and power of all things, we believe does not will that creation be a unilaterally dictated outcome. That is, it's not God playing chess all by God's self moving all the pieces. Let's say we're the pieces on the board. We have the power. We have the power of motion, of agency. And so things can happen in the world that resist God's will. We call them sin or sins. I don't think that Tillich would disagree with that, but I think it was important to sort of touch on that for a little while. God is the creator of all things, and yet at the same time also in grace calling creation toward flourishing in love. And flourishing in love requires some kind of some measure of agency, certainly as we think about ourselves as human beings in the way the Bible, I would say it's First John, think of First John, beloved, let us love one another. It doesn't say, beloved, God is creating a world that cannot resist God's will, and therefore you shall love one another, inevitably. No, there is this calling in which, in the Bible, it's quite clear that the implication is human beings can resist that calling. And so while God is the sole creator, and we can say ex nihilo, there's It's not like there's some kind of, material floating around in the universe, or that was the universe, and that God came upon it and said, I wonder where this stuff came from. Maybe I'll try to make something with it. No, we don't think that. So ultimately, God is the source and ground of all things. That's just a little bit more on page 20. In order to do that, of course, I backed up a little bit.